right, everyone, welcome back to another amazing interview with Jeanine Grayson. Jeanine is a former perfectionist who struggled with setting boundaries. Jeanine spent years of her life in a toxic relationship, feeling unhappy, unfulfilled, and undervalued. Amidst a battle with cancer, Jeanine experienced a transformational mindset shift that unlocked her untapped potential. This shift unleashed the start of new thoughts and beliefs that grew into courage and confidence to take massive action and rebuild a new life. Jeanine's personal transformation ignited her passion to help others unlock their untapped potential. She offers one-to-one coaching for individuals who want to shed self-doubt and start taking empowered action towards fulfilling their dreams and goals. Jeanine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So look, we're going to get right into it. I love kind of the journey that you've been on. I think people can learn a lot from what you have gone through. And we'll just start, like, how did you kind of get started? Because I know you were in the fitness industry before, kind of a gym junkie, as it were. So I guess take me through the start and kind of, how you got to where you are right now.
Sure. Well, when I transformed my life, I entered the entrepreneurial space, and I entered that space in the fitness industry because, I always have been a gym junkie and a fitness person. And so, after going through a battle with cancer and just really accepting that, we can all potentially get that card regardless of sort of the lifestyle that we're living and how healthy or fit we are, is just really determined to help support other individuals on their journey for better health and fitness. And so that was the space that I entered. And I learned very quickly that individuals tended to struggle with more than just the workouts and, the nutrition piece. It was largely controlled by their mindset, their habits, their negative self-talk. So my mindset and confidence coaching really organically was born through that process. And I started implementing a lot of behavior change and mindset work with my fitness clients, and then really progressed that to its own service, its own business. So that's really, in a nutshell, kind of how it started, how I got to where I am today.
I love it. And it's so funny that you say, because it's exactly like the same shift that I realized and that I'm currently making out of fitness, not out of fitness, but in fitness, but that mindset, because you've probably had hundreds of clients in the fitness industry. And we'll get into that in a second, but you realize very quickly that it's not about the fitness necessarily. I mean, they might need to lose 100 pounds, but it's not about the fitness. It's about their mindset. There was this question I saw on Facebook the other day, and it was like, what's the hardest part about your fitness, getting in shape, your fitness, nutrition, or your mindset? And only 20% said mindset. And I'm like, guys, it's like literally, if you struggle with your fitness or your nutrition, it's literally your mindset. It's not like the act, because it's not hard. I mean, there's a simple calculus, simple formula to lift weights, work out, eat healthy. The hard part is doing it and keeping it. And the people don't realize, that's not about fitness. It's about you. It's about you and what's going on between you. And so I found out very quickly, I'm like, man, I am not equipped to handle a lot of these situations, because it's it's not about because I'm good at programming and do all that stuff, but the mind, you don't get taught that when you're in the fitness field. So, but I also feel like a lot of people in the fitness field go into this mindset area because we realize that a lot of people are struggling with this. I just love to see, and I'm gonna learn a lot today from you, because this is kind of the path I'm going down right now, is like switching from I stay in the fitness field, but that mindset aspect. So let's start with your fitness background. What kind of fitness did you teach? What was your specialty?
So something I did actually before I started my own entrepreneurial fitness space and my own business was I surrendered to working at a big box gym. Which, from someone who has been going to big box gyms since they were 18, I was already well aware of kind of the scene that I was going to be dealing with. But the reason I did it was I wanted to work with a varied population and really get clarity on my niche that I wanted to have when I opened my business. So I told myself, kind of gave myself a pep talk. I'm like, all right, Jeanine, you're going to do this for, 10 to 12 months, have a lot of conversations, work with a lot of different populations, and then really narrow down my niche.
So you knew right away you wanted to open up your own business.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was working in business management prior, and was ready for a challenge and wanted to become an entrepreneur. And so, but as someone who always loved fitness, I understood that I didn't know what I didn't know about working with individuals on their fitness who potentially maybe didn't love fitness like me. People that, had doctors or spouses or family members saying, hey, you need to lose weight, you need to get in shape, I'm concerned about you. So, I really wanted to get clarity on my niche first. So I did work in a big box gym that was super, super interesting. But I met some really incredible people, worked with a lot of different age brackets and individuals with different fitness goals. And that essentially led me to want to work out of a boutique studio, something that was a little more private. That was the feedback that I was getting from clients, that many people that were in big box gyms were uncomfortable with being there. They had memberships, maybe they were showing up, but just were a little uncomfortable with the space. So I went more of the boutique studio route. I definitely worked one-on-one with individuals. That was my model. And I'm NASM trained. So, the progression model, safe progression. And my focus was HIIT training, circuit training, as well as nutrition. And my main focus was really to help my clients develop healthy habits and to really lose the diet mentality to help them, understand what healthy eating looked like, and to be able to go out and order a healthier choice from a menu and to live their lives and be empowered to make healthier choices because they had the education and the tools to do that. So my model was very much, kind of no diets, accountability for sure, and through workouts and nutrition and food logging for sure. But, really kind of the no diet culture and the healthy habit building.
I love that. And I love the no diet culture because it's, and the no diet culture is so interesting to me because we live in this massive, and I'm not disparaging specific diets someone might be on, but
Yes.
it's a mentality versus almost, people use diets almost as a supplement to actually doing something. And they use like, okay, if I do this exact method, I'll lose all the weight. But then the second you stop that method because insert reason X, because there's so many reasons to stop a diet, then they revert back. And so the non-dieting method, just for clarity, is mostly flexible eating. It's understanding how to eat healthy, how to do it long term, and make it part of your life, versus relying on, follow these 5 rules, and you have to do this X, Y, and Z, and buy this shake or buy this food, and you can't have this, you can't have carbs, can't have fat. It's just like, oh my gosh. Like, and by the way, all the diets work to a point for sure. I'm not, because I've done a handful of them just to see what would happen. And I've got actually amazing results from some of the diets, but I love the flexible, the flexible dieting. You probably shouldn't even call it dieting, but flexible eating.
Like
I love
intuitive
that.
eating. Like listening to your body. And, truly, as it's not a one size fits all. And so when individuals subscribe to the diet culture, and they try a particular diet and they don't get the results that maybe their friend got, then there's a lot of self-guilting, and there's a lot of, I failed. And it's like, no, this particular eating plan is likely not the best choice for you. So yeah, and certainly, medical diets and health specific diets, when individuals have health conditions, that set aside, the fad diet culture was mostly what I was trying to move people away from.
I love that. So what would you say your main fitness principles are, besides flexible eating, basically? What would you say your main fitness principles are when you would train clients? Like, what do you tell people? Like, these are the most important things to do when you're working out.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I could talk for hours about that. Let me kind of summarize. I'm a big believer in consistency is everything, right? So some days, so let me back that up. I'm very much about habits and systems versus motivation. That was always my approach with my clients, deconstructing motivation and the idea that we are always going to wake up motivated and want to work out
Oof.
just simply isn't the case, even for those of us that love to work out, right?
I'm never motivated. And I do it anyway.
Well, I doubt that you're never motivated, but
I'm less motivated than people would think I am. Yes.
Sure. So really relying on scheduling, systems, habits, the practice, and also recognizing that we don't have to, knock out like a personal best every time we work out. Sometimes our workouts are a little bit shorter because we're pressed for time. Sometimes, our workouts, we might be in a different headspace or slightly distracted, but the main component with fitness, with sustainable fitness, right, is putting in work and doing that consistently. So that was a really big umbrella kind of overview focus of the mindset that I helped my clients work on. Now, as far as specific fundamentals of working out, I very much embrace the, healthy warm-up period for clients and checking in with people and getting a feel for, where their head's at, have they eaten, what their morning was like before they came to me, just so I can kind of get a pulse of, where individuals are coming from. Are they low on energy? Did they sleep awful? Have they had anything to drink or eat? So, warming up, connecting, talking with my clients, then doing the bulk of the workout, which, the intensity was matched based on the individual and any, current injuries and their fitness level for sure. So that was always customized. And then the cool down, the SMR, the stretching, and really kind of breaking the process down for my clients so they understand what is the benefit of the warm up. What are the benefits of doing exercises when you feel like you're just ready to end it and you push out 1 or 2 more reps? What is the benefit of, consistent SMR, foam rolling, even just a 5-minute daily practice? What does that do for our body? How does that help us recover? And so much emphasis is put on what happens in the gym or with the weights, and there's a lot that happens in the gym and with weights, but there's also a lot that happens with the rest and recovery and the diet, the nutrition, the fuel that we put in our body. So a lot of what I did with clients was deconstruct and demystify a lot of beliefs and things that people read and they don't know if there's any truth to them, and they kind of follow it because maybe they saw it online, but maybe they feel like it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there, right? And individuals will choose what they want to subscribe to, but a lot of times when people struggle with change, they will find reasons to not enlist programs or plans, and they'll kind of step back a little bit and not commit. So really kind of deconstructing the whole fitness piece and what our bodies need.
Yeah, which is great because fitness as a whole is like this massive, it's like you're being attacked. It's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I do? And when you deconstruct it a little bit and break it down to its basic pieces, it becomes a lot easier to just handle. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. That was awesome. So going from there, so you had the fitness journey.
Mhm,
So I do want to kind of hit like from your bio, kind of the cancer journey that you were on.
mhm,
When
mhm,
did that take place? Was that
mhm.
during this, during the transition period of fitness to your own career? How did that, like, when did that happen? And then what
Yeah,
happened with it?
sure, sure, sure. Thank you. So that happened when I was living in my toxic relationship. I was in a
Mhm.
really, really unhealthy relationship for years. And, you know, those kinds of toxic relationships, they don't happen overnight, right? They happen over time. And you have hopes and dreams, and you think it's with this person. And it turns out it's not. And then you kind of find yourself in a situation and you feel stuck. So that's kind of where I was, largely basing my happiness, hopes, and dreams on the idea that my partner was going to change. So that was kind of the world that I was living in. Um, and you know, and I was working, I was employed, I was working in business management, I was running other people's business. That's what I was doing for a living. And um, I was given a cancer diagnosis in the middle of that. And you know, my transformation happened because I hit a really, really, really low point. It was not a diagnosis I was expecting. Like I said, I had been a consistent gym goer, very fit, I thought very healthy, um, and was given this diagnosis, and it really threw me for a loop. And, you know, when something like that happens, you start taking inventory really quick on what matters to you in life, the relationships that matter, the things that matter, maybe things that you'd like to change about your life, because it's all very unexpected, and you don't have clarity, and you're not sure what the cancer journey will look like. I'm very grateful that I got through it and I'm very healthy today. But you know, surgeries and scans and radiations and
Oh
treatments
yeah.
and things like that. It's just a process, and there's a lot of waiting periods and waiting for the results and then doing the next treatment. So um, it definitely messes with your mind a bit. And my personal transformation happened at a moment when it was post my diagnosis. I was by myself, and I started just kind of having a conversation with myself and getting really honest with the fact that I wasn't happy in my life. And if I actually wanted to be happy and wanted to see a different style of life and be happy and pursue my dreams and goals, I was going to need to leave the situation I was in. And it just became very, very clear in that moment. And I think, you know, you just start to feel like I have nothing to lose, right? I've just been diagnosed with an illness. I lack clarity on that. I'm really scared. I'm really taking inventory of what matters in my life. So it was just like really a moment of me being honest with myself and not continuing
Mhm.
to tell myself the lies that my happiness and fulfillment in life was based on whether or not my partner changed. I realized I had the power to actually start making choices and create my own happiness for myself. But it was going to require moving outside my
Yeah.
comfort zone, getting out of a relationship. So I decided first and foremost that I needed to focus on getting well. That was, you know, priority number
Of
one.
course. Yeah.
And I did that. And after I left that relationship, I started on a journey of, you know, moving to another city and leaving a very comfortable job and career and pursuing the entrepreneurial space. So my professional pursuit of working in the fitness space started actually after that.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. What would, excuse me, and we're not a relationship podcast by any means, but what would be one piece of advice you would give someone? Because I find this very interesting. To maybe someone is in a toxic relationship. What is there a piece of advice you can give someone that's like, hey, this is like a big sign that you need to reevaluate, or you might need to move on, or that you need to watch out, or a red flag, or is there any, like, is there like one thing that like you
Mm.
could say, like, okay, like if this is happening, or if you're thinking this, you may want to reflect on the relationship itself, and it might be time to leave, or something along those lines?
Um, one thing. Well, it's interesting because hindsight's 2020,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
I think when you're in a toxic relationship, when you assign that potentially you are in an unhealthy place, is when you find yourself continually making excuses for someone else's bad behavior. When you find that you're making excuses and kind of defending someone's bad behavior on a somewhat regular basis, you need to kind of step back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And that comes in at an expense. It comes at an expense of your time and your own happiness and focusing on your own self. Unfortunately, a lot of toxic relationships, they happen over time. So you get more emotionally invested, and as you become more emotionally invested, you start learning more about the individual and seeing full circle some dysfunctional and toxic behavior. So I would say, having those moments where you check in with yourself, kind of like have a conversation with yourself, as silly as that may sound, but just kind of like, how am I feeling about this? Why am I making excuses for this behavior? Is this okay with me?
Love
Just kind
that.
of having that little, just a minute with yourself, whether you just jump in the car, go drive somewhere where it's quiet, remove the distractions, and just kind of check in with yourself, can start with that.
I love that, because whether you knew it or not, you kind of just like connected everything, because it's a matter of when you're, when you have a goal, when you're doing something, it's, when you do something for long enough, it becomes normal. You tend to compromise what you want, you appease situations. It is the new normal. My dad, for example, this is not comparing to a relationship, but the idea is similar, is he has like a foot issue where his foot hurts every day. Like wakes up, there's like this foot pain, but he's had it since he's a kid. And
Right.
he, at first it's like, oh, this is kind of weird. But as
Right.
he has it day in and day out for years and years and years, doesn't take care of it, because they're born in the era of just put some dirt on it, it'll be fine. And now he's almost 60 and he has this foot pain, but it's just life now. It's just part of life. So
Right.
in that as you get more accustomed to something that happens, it
Right.
becomes easier to stay, because, well, he or she is just like that. That's just what they are. And you're like, but then the second you take a step back, you're like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be in pain all the time, or I'm not supposed to be 100 pounds overweight. I'm not supposed to say, well, I guess I'm just going to be overweight the rest of my life, or I'm just going to be. So it relates, what you just said relates to every aspect of life, is that we sit in this weird bubble that, as long as it's comfortable and to some degree, we're willing to accept these negative things that happen, the toxic things that happen, whether it's our job, our health, our relationship, whatever, because we're used to it, because we haven't actually taken the time to self-reflect into what we're trying to do. So I love that kind of like that message you just said, because I think it connects to everything that you're doing with coaching and all those different things. So it may have been a prelude to your coaching business, to be honest, and to
I mean, that's totally. It's really interesting because I feel like I waited until I got to a really, really low place. And I don't think that individuals have to wait that long.
But most of the time they do, because it's like until you are pushed to the brink, you're not going to make, your body won't let, you don't want to make a change, because you love being in your little comfort sphere. We all do. And so if we get to that point, it's like enough is enough. Then, because you hear all these stories. I mean, everyone has that breaking point of like, enough is enough. Like, how do I like get to this point? And you don't have to, you don't need to wait to that point if you can identify things ahead of time and make those tough decisions early.
And that's so true. And, and I'm going to say something that sounds like such a cliche, but, when the fear of making change is less than the fear of staying where you're at, then, making change looks kind of interesting. And a lot of times that can kind of pull you out of the situation where you're at. So, yeah, absolutely.
Um, so in your and so going off of that, you became a mindset, confidence coach
Mhm.
with people. So using kind of your, obviously your fitness background and then kind of going to this healthy relationship, how do you tell people this is what you do? Like what is it that's like what no one knows what that means. What is a mindset confidence coach exactly? Like no one knows what
Mhm.
that means.
Okay, so I'll deconstruct and let me know
Yeah.
what areas I can further develop. So you said something that was really interesting when this conversation started, and you said that
I
individuals
hope
that
so.
that you've worked with in the fitness industry like don't think that they have mindset challenges. And I think one of the things with mindset work is many individuals lack the awareness that they struggle with mindset because they are in a place of replaying a dysfunctional thought or pattern or loop, and they stay in that place. Um, so let me just say that our mindset is everything. It is the lens. It is like putting on a pair of glasses, the lens that we look through, and it's really how we interpret ourselves, people around us, situations, obstacles in front of us. The way that we perceive and the way that we feel about all of those things is really controlled by our mindset. Um, and individuals, and I'm sure that you have probably spoken to individuals in the fitness industry and maybe started a conversation about nutrition, and maybe the conversation goes, tell me kind of your regular eating routine, and tell me, what kind of challenges you're having with your nutrition. And the individual will immediately start maybe blaming their spouse or their kids. Well, I've got to make this food, or I have to keep this kind of food in the house. And they kind of start redirecting instead of taking ownership. And mindset work really helps us uncover the negative, limiting beliefs, untrue thoughts that we just replay in a loop in our head that keeps us stuck in the place that we're at and prevents us from moving forward. Very much like the dysfunctional loop thought that I had, that my happiness will happen when my partner changes. And I stayed and I bought into that, right? So mindset work helps individuals really uncover what are those false sense of securities, what are those false truths that you're constantly replaying and telling yourself. And it's work, because some of those limiting beliefs we get as we grow up. Like, they can be instilled at a very young age. They can be instilled during chapters of our life when we are dating or in relationships or certain friendships that we have. So a lot of times, those limiting beliefs are things that we have picked up along the way, or we have heard things about ourselves and somehow they've just stuck with us. But beliefs are thoughts that are just repeated over and over and over again. So for that reason, we can reframe those negative dysfunctional thoughts, and we can create other thoughts and repeat those and start the buy-in, the belief process, and start to take new action based on a new idea or thought. So it does go both ways, but the first step really for most people is getting clarity on certain areas of their life where they feel like they're stuck. Maybe it's relationships, maybe it's fitness, maybe it's career, maybe it's just feeling overwhelmed in life and not knowing what our next step is, not having clarity. So, when I start to work with individuals, I start gathering a lot of information about them. What areas of your life do you feel happiness and fulfillment and what areas of your life do you feel like you really haven't grown, or you feel maybe a little less satisfied or stuck or overwhelmed? And let's look at those areas, and let's start identifying what beliefs you have about yourself in those areas of
Mm.
your life. And that is how we identify individuals' limiting beliefs. So that's kind of the start.
I love that. I agree that, I love the lens example you gave with the mindset and like how you see things is how it's going to be. And you're on this hamster wheel. I mean, because and I think even deeper than just like, okay, you do this, then this, then this. I think that once you kind of create the full circle, your
Mhm.
body actually will send you hormonal signals to keep it that way as well. And so it's very,
Mhm.
because your body's number one goal is to keep you alive, keep you safe, keep you comfortable. And the
Yep,
second you start to feel, even if you don't like it, if it's comfortable, then it'll just keep you doing that hamster wheel. And it's so difficult to
absolutely.
break that without understanding the background of it. So I love that you said that. How would you, because you said reframing as well. And I think that's a very important thing. And
Mhm.
I am one of those, like, I was not into like, and not to go into the woo, I was very much like, oh, reframing is all woo woo, just work hard, doesn't matter what you say about it, just push, 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 and you'll see success, which I have learned over the years that that's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
Reframing is actually very important. And I still have issues, like when I say the word diet,
Mhm.
a lot of people say you should be reframing the word diet to something else because diet's a negative connotation, all those different things. So if
Mhm.
someone, has let's say they want to lose weight. I think that's a very common thing that people want. And how does someone reframe their almost negative beliefs so that they can start breaking that cycle? Or I guess in any goal road that comes to mind.
I think I would refine it. Yeah, I would just shrink it even more. So, losing weight is such a vast
Huge
goal,
thing. Yeah.
right? As you know. And I definitely subscribe to the belief that we can set goals, and goals are important. But a goal is largely the destination that you set in your navigation system, right? I want to go here. This is what I want. Um, it's our daily habits that we have to get aligned with where we say we want to go, or what it is that we want to have. So there has to be an alignment in our habits. And so for someone that has a weight loss goal, we need to really start looking at the daily habits and identify what daily habits, what actions, what behaviors are not consistent. What are they
Yeah.
engaging in on the regular that's not consistent with losing weight? So, for example, and fitness is such a good example
Yeah.
because almost everyone can relate to this, right? So, if you have an individual that wants to lose weight, and so they hire a trainer and they're getting their workouts with their trainer in, and then they're going on walks. But their diet, they are still repeatedly, they're going through the fast food drive through, they're keeping their trigger snacks in the pantry within an arm's reach. So
Mhm.
there's some behaviors like working with a trainer and moving more that are consistent with where they want to go, that are in alignment with their goal of losing weight. But then there's other behaviors that are totally
Opposite.
self-sabotage. And let's be real, because not being able to lose weight can be super discouraging for individuals. And many individuals can self-shame and self-guilt and really start feeling crappy about themselves if they can't lose the weight. But we need to be honest, and we need to look at all of the habits and say, am I engaging in habits that are in aligned with what I say that I want? And if I'm not, why am I not?
Why am
And
I not? Yeah.
start deconstructing, what are the thoughts that are playing in your head that are supporting your decision to get in the car and to go and to drive and to get McDonald's? What are the thoughts that are replaying in your mind that are allowing you to go into your pantry and grab those trigger snacks and snack late into the evening? Why are we not having those conversations with ourselves and recognizing that we need to remove temptations and triggers that are within an arm's reach. We need to kind of remove those things. So they're not conveniently here. They're getting in the way of where we say we want to go. So, it's really about just getting real with ourselves. And so in regards to reframing, so the first goal is to really get clarity on like what behaviors are not consistent with our goal. And then as far as like the reframing, like the first thing that we have to do is acknowledge that reframing is possible, right? We have to acknowledge that there isn't just one way to do things the way we've been doing it. We have to acknowledge that we can change our point of view. And then because of that, we can actually change our behaviors and we can potentially get different results. So something that you said about the hamster wheel is so true. And the hamster wheel is a really good example of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Okay. So the hamster wheel, and we've all had conversations with clients like this, training clients, where habits and behaviors are not happening. And they're continuing to try those habits and behaviors the same way, and they're not happening. And so the response is, I'm just going to try harder. And that is a fixed mindset. I'm going to do this. So essentially what they're saying is, I'm going to do the same things I've always been doing. I'm just going to try harder.
So if you try harder on the same thing,
yeah,
you're
just staying on the same wheel.
You're gonna get the same. Like, it's not about trying harder; it's about shifting what you try or how you try. Or because if you try harder on X, you're always going to get X. And so,
100%.
yeah.
100%. And so we have to adapt to the growth mindset, which is the acceptance and awareness that we can evolve and grow and change, but we have to engage in different behaviors. So a really set example of that is if you have a client that is repeatedly not getting their exercise in after work because they're exhausted after a long work day, and they say, you know what, Scott, I'm just going to try harder. I'm just going to get home from work and I'm just going to try harder to get to the gym, even though they've been trying that for weeks or months and it's not happening. Then we need to look at, okay, we need to mix this up. We need to look at potentially shrinking the workout time, and we need to look at placing it somewhere else during the day, whether that be on a lunch hour or first thing in the morning. We need to switch it up because the continuing to try it one way and only one way and not get the results is not going to change. Yeah. So reframing, first starts with the acknowledgement that we can change our thoughts. And then a couple ways that I like to encourage clients to reframe is to actually write out, to create some positive affirmations. And I'm a big believer in starting small. I am a big believer that you have to create a habit before you can grow a habit. So however small the habit is. So, when I'm talking about reframing thoughts, I'm talking about like 1 or 2 thoughts at a time, not 5, 6, or 7 thoughts, like really starting small, and identifying a thought that is opposite or opposing that limiting belief, and potentially reviewing it every day, using it as a visual reminder, tacking it onto our computer, maybe putting it on our fridge, sticking it on our bathroom mirror, somewhere where we see it all the time, right? So because as we repeat a thought, it can become a belief. So either through positive affirmations, using them as visual reminders, engaging in the repetition of them, and daily journaling. We can do that with our daily journaling, creating some journal prompts to help us just kind of have a couple minutes of creative time with ourselves, where we just we answer some questions to support that new
Mm-hmm.
thought and the encouragement of letting that new thought foster and grow.
I love that. I'm a full on supporter of making things visible, putting it on the wall, putting it on your desk, like make, and so I love everything you said there. You did mention in there limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
And we're talking about reframing, talking about the
Yep.
hamster wheel. And so what are some common limiting beliefs that you see with people who are struggling to make a change
Mhm.
and are going through? It's like, I can't do this, I can't do this, because I find it very, in my opinion, it's a little more rare for someone to literally say I'm not good enough, like, as their reason. It's
Right.
usually hidden behind layers of other things.
Sure.
So what are some common limiting beliefs, and then how do you reframe those potential thoughts in your experience?
Sure, sure. So I think the umbrella, the large umbrella is the most common limiting beliefs is, that we are less than, not good enough, less than in some capacity, right? So to get those are the most common. They tend to be a little more specific when we're saying them to ourselves.
Yeah.
So they tend to, they could be, I'm not in shape enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not successful enough, anything along those lines that essentially convinces us that taking a step forward and trying something different isn't going to work out. So we convince ourselves that we can't do it, and we avoid trying
At all
because,
costs. Yeah.
yeah, because the trying, that's uncomfortable. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a fitness studio with a client. And with the HIIT training, with circuit training, I always go through and model all the exercises, for clients. And, sometimes when I show my clients what the workout is today, I will get there's no way I can do that, Jeanine. There's no way I can do that. And I respond really quick. Of course you can. Of course you can. It's not going to be easy, but of course you can do it. I wouldn't put it in the workout if I didn't think you could do it. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, 5 minutes later, guess who's doing it? So, it's just such a reminder that we so limit our growth and our progression by convincing ourselves we're going to fail before we even start. So, so what's an example? How could we reframe a thought like that? You
Yeah.
asked me, and let's take something specific because I think that always helps. So, if someone said there is, they want to get in shape and there's no way that they can do, they can't plank, they're not strong enough, it's too hard, it's uncomfortable, it utilizes all these different muscle groups, and there's just no way. So we can continue to think that we're just not strong enough to plank, and we can avoid that exercise,
Mhm.
which has a lot of fantastic benefits for core strength, and it's even great for people that have bad backs because it's a
Yeah, a lot of benefits.
strengthener.
Yeah.
So what we could say is, there's no way we're going to be able to do it. Or we could shift a thought and we could say, I bet I could do a plank if I started off real small. If I started a really short plank, like a 10-second plank, just saying. And so then we start buying into the idea, okay, I don't think I could plank. I watch people at the gym, they plank for a minute or 2 minutes. That just seems like so unattainable for me. But maybe I could do it if I tried a really short plank, like maybe like 10 minutes. So like maybe
10
if I
seconds.
you know what I mean? So maybe if I just get like my phone and I set the timer 10 seconds and I get into position, and then I'll see what happens. So there has to be a buy-in. And so when we're reframing thoughts, the buy-in, it has to be realistic, right?
Mhm.
The reframe thought needs to oppose the limited thinking of the limiting belief.
They gotta
But
connect.
it needs to be, yes, but it needs to be manageable. The concept of it needs to be manageable. It needs to be doable. It needs to be progressive and incremental. Okay. So it's always important to start small. Now, one of my long-term limiting beliefs for years and years and years and years was, and I really got clarity on this one when I went to a Tony Robbins event years ago in New York. And one of my limiting beliefs was, if I try something new and I don't ace it the first time I try it, I'm probably not going to be any good at it. That was anything, any kind of like sport, game, competition, anything. Like if I don't like nail it, just nail it first try, I probably won't be any good at this thing. And I don't know where that came from. I mean, I was always kind of a high achiever as a kid. So maybe it was kind of
Perfectionism.
like,
Yeah.
kind of born there. And my parents definitely expected me to get good grades and perform and to be committed to what I was committed to. So certainly, it kind of was born there. But I just realized, like, wow, I'm going to exercise more patience with myself. It's unrealistic for me to expect to be able to nail something first try. So I instead am going to be open to trying new things. And I'm going to ask myself, am I enjoying it? And if I'm enjoying it, then I'll keep engaging in that new thing and kind of shift my focus from just what the results are to, am I getting value and enjoyment out of this thing? So that was my reframed thought, is instead of just focusing on acing something, let me focus on, am I enjoying it? And if I am, then there's value to continue that. And then through that process, of course, I debunk my limiting belief, because I understand that it's not about that.
Because now you try this, like you weren't good at first, but now you did it a few times, and I'm actually not bad at this. Like that's pretty good. Like, and it's so interesting because a lot of us, and I feel like that's actually very similar, a very common belief. It's like, if I'm not good at fitness, at first I can't do it. But I love the idea of deconstructing it. Like the plank is the example of, okay, like do it for 10 seconds. Like you definitely, like almost anyone can do it for 10 seconds. Like just do it and then prove to yourself over and over again. And that's why I love, like, basically it's you build small steps, right? So if you do a plank for 10 seconds, right? And then you start adding 11, 12, 13, 14, you're building momentum towards getting rid of that belief and reframing everything. And then you can actually do this. Now, again, that seems like a very small, easy example, but use that and extrapolate that to any goal that you have specifically that's holding you back, and you're in a very unique perspective, I feel like, from a lot of people I've talked to, whereas you were a trainer, you had your own training business, you worked at a commercial, you work with probably hundreds of clients, and now you're a coach. And what is the biggest, so let's say someone's listening to this right now, like, oh my gosh, like I do, I need a trainer. I definitely, like, I love this. Like, what's the difference between a trainer and coach? And then where should people be looking? Because I think there's value in both. 100% there's value in both.
Yes.
But like, how does someone know where to go in that? And let's just say it's fitness, just for the sake of argument, because we're on that topic. How does someone know? Do I get a personal trainer, or do I get some sort of fitness mindset coach?
And I agree with what you just said. I think both are incredibly important. Right. So I think it's kind of individualized, because I also have worked with clients that, gosh darn, I just kind of lay out the plan, they follow it, and boom, like the results are there. There's no kind of fighting or avoiding or self-sabotaging. So I would say that if you do your research and you find a reputable trainer and you're consistent with that work, and for some reason or another, you feel like you're avoiding making change in your life, that perhaps your change is rooted in something deeper than, the fitness piece, which is, I recognize very important for people. But, if our mindset is not aligned correctly, it's absolutely going to impact your ability to work with a very skilled, trained trainer. If you're not imparting the knowledge and and the training that you're getting from that individual. So, I mean, you can work with incredibly competent professionals, and you can be engaging in your limiting self-talk, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage continually. So I think part of that discovery is being honest with yourself. You know, if you feel like you're still chasing the same goals for quite some time, and you don't feel like you're progressing, then you might need to consider that the cause of your not progressing is deeper rooted in your mindset. It's how you're interpreting what your trainer's telling you. It's how your habits are not aligned with what you told your trainer that you wanted. It's the self-sabotage that you're engaging. It's the blaming other people or our external surroundings for why we're not making progress. You know, you asked me something about the confidence piece, and I just want to touch on that because confidence is a word that makes people uncomfortable. If you ask someone, you know, how's your self-confidence? I mean, people will get a little uncomfortable. They'll just say, I'm fine, I'm good. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. But, you know, there's behaviors that we engage in that are pretty telling that maybe our self-confidence needs some work. So some of those behaviors are perfectionism, like myself, people pleasing, not setting boundaries, not respecting our own time, needs, wants, being the yes person. And some of those concepts get in the way of us achieving our own goals, right? So it's all connected. You have the individual that, yeah, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to like get, you know, ripped. I want to look amazing, but they're not making the time for their workouts. They're saying yes to everyone else. They're putting their own priorities like low on the list. So the two are very connected, the mindset and the confidence. If you have individuals that really want to reach their goals and they find that they're continually stumbling and they're not getting where they want to get, that's a good indicator that they need to look deeper, aka they need to really take a look and consider that mindset work is likely a tool that they may need to start using to get through some of the personal stuff so they can maximize the trainer that they've hired, right?
Yeah.
Maximize the benefit of working with that professional.
That's a very great way to put it, because to me, people ask me all the time, it's like, well, what's the difference between a trainer and a coach? And I'm like, it's a hard question. I usually like in that, I think you broke it down very, very well. And I think that's like, if you can't do what the trainer's asking you to do, exploring why, and you may need someone else to help you explore, because the trainers aren't necessarily equipped to do that. Potentially depends on who you have. I love that. And obviously it's very customized, and, you know, everyone is kind of their own person with this. I mean, I can go on for another like 10 hours on that topic alone. But you know, real quickly here. Where can people find you?
Thank you. My website, JeanineGrayson.com. They can contact me through my website or social media, Jeanine Grayson Coaching on Instagram and Facebook. Individuals can DM me. I'm such a believer in, you know, people connecting with me, and just getting clarity on if this is a service that's right for them. So I always offer complimentary clarity calls where I can just connect with an individual. They can express kind of where they're at and get clarity on maybe if my service is right for them and or next steps for them in their life or whatever challenge they're facing.
I love that. And all that will be in the show notes. So if you are interested, definitely take a look at that and go to the website and get a clarity call. I mean, it's only going to benefit you. So you should definitely do that. Jeanine, any final thoughts before we head off here?
You know, I just want to encourage listeners that although I personally went through a massive transformation and a low point in my life, that you don't have to wait until you are at a low point. We are all able to make change in our life, and we are all able to reach amazing heights and goals. We have to be willing to shift our thinking and our mindset. And I believe we're all capable of that. I believe we're all capable of that. And I'm in it to help people. So thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the incredible message, the insight, the training, the coaching, the journey. It was all amazing. So I do appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Scott.